Friends and family, welcome to another live broadcast brought to you by Premier's Turning Point, with your host, Bishop Dr. Uton Lang. We pray and hope that something that is being said today will bless your soul and spirit. Please take a quick moment to like and share this broadcast with your friends and family. Thank you again for joining us. Let's go into our live program.
Blessings, blessings, and good evening, one and all. This is an awesome time that we can come back together on Premier's Turning Point to go over some salient features and things affecting us in the time of the pandemic and how we reopen, especially when we look at churches. And we want everybody to get up-to-date information that you can then make solid, confident decisions for us to be safe and to move forward as we plan and do everything for the Lord. So we want everybody to call up your friends and loved ones, ask them to join us on Facebook and on YouTube, and get ready. Make sure if you have questions, feel free to put them under the comments on Facebook or YouTube, and we will be more than happy to go over those and to answer those and to give out the necessary information that you need. We are very excited. We have some special guests this evening. And so before I prolong it, I just wanted to go around the room and they're going to introduce themselves. Pastor Franklin Williamson is not such he's been on enough, so we're going to let him go last. And so we're going to start with Helen, I think, and then go around the room. So introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. My name is Helena Duran, and I'm the Senior Manager of the Faith Sector Community Preparedness Program at New York Disaster Interfaith Services. So we have been working during COVID-19 to create resources for houses of worship in the city, making sure that they have the most up-to-date information and can continue to care for the city spiritually and emotionally during COVID-19.
Okay. So we'll come back and get some more details. So Minister Imogene, go ahead.
Yeah. Hello, my name is Imogene Piper. I am a registered nurse. I'm currently a member of Faith Community Worship Center, where I serve there as an evangelist, and also I'm a part of the board. I was asked by my pastor to come up with best practices in order for us to be able to reopen the sanctuary. Because of course everyone we were all doing the Zoom, and we wanted to find a safe and smooth transition back into the sanctuary. So that is my role, and our church is located in Perth Amboy, New Jersey, under Pastor Nigel Simpson.
All right. Oh, thank you. And Pastor, go ahead. You're muted, sir. You're muted. There you go.
Yes, this is Overseer Franklin Williamson, Senior Pastor of the Gospel Tabernacle Church in the Northeast section of the Bronx. I'm so glad. I'm thanking God for Dr. Ling for this forum where we can bring relevant issues to the church. I am one of many pastors who are trying our best to smart, phased approach in reopening our churches. And we are using this forum to educate and to discuss some of the best practices. And as you know, it's a novel virus, so what we say today may change tomorrow based upon the information at hand. So I look forward to your questions. I look forward to a fruitful discussion, and I pray that you will receive information and resources you can use for your local assembly. God bless you.
Amen. And I thank everybody for introducing themselves. And we really, to me, it's very, very important. And just most everybody know I'm a bishop, but I'm also a family doctor. Health, wellness is very dear to my heart. And of course, of both the body, soul, and spirit. So we want people to be well-rounded and all around having good information. Premier's Turning Point is really purpose of this is to really give out solid information, be a sounding board so people could then also have questions and all their issues answered. And that's what we're really about. So this evening we're going to continue. We started last week, but we're going to continue talking about especially for the sanctuaries reopening and what are some of the best practices. I'm actually going to start with Ellen because she has the fourth task force that she's working with have come up with some really nice plan and checklists. So we're going to start with her this evening and for her to enlighten us from her standpoint. Go ahead.
Great, thank you so much. I wonder if it's possible to share the resource on the screen to briefly
I,
highlight some of the.
yeah, we'll see if they have that together. So you can start talking, and if they do, they'll pop it up. Okay.
Perfect, excellent. All right, so we have created a checklist for each phase that the New York State on pause has gone through. So we are currently in phase 4 in New York State, and which that means that we have 50% capacity indoor spaces, and we have unlimited outdoor gatherings. And the governor has put out a series of requirements for houses of worship if they are to reopen in person. So these requirements are based on the latest knowledge about the virus and the ways that we can keep people safe and continue to gather safely together. So what we've done is looked at those and then tried to make it as accessible as possible for congregations to access and be able to complete these well and within their means as well. So keeping in mind if we are under-resourced or if we have few volunteers, how can we make sure that we can still follow these guidelines and reopen safely? So the guidelines are formatted as a checklist. We have the requirements that the governor does require in New York State. And then below each section, we have recommendations that we've come up with to help implement those requirements. So if the governor requires that there's 6 feet of space between people indoors, we recommend that you mark your floors and have markings 6 feet apart where people line up to use the restrooms or the facilities. And so those types of things support the work that you're doing. And we also want to imagine it really in a true setting of what it would look like in your worship space and really apply it and see, well, what are some of the challenges that congregations might face and how can we give them tools and equip them to complete it. So those guidelines are also hyperlinked as well. So anywhere where the governor says you need a permit to worship outside over a certain number of people, we've hyperlinked exactly where to apply for those permits in the city right within the document. So it's at your fingertips to be able to do the good work that you're doing and make sure that you have everything all in one place together.
All right. So I think we'll see if we can get that list up in a little bit, and then we can go over that again. But it seems like a very structured plan. I'm not sure if New Jersey have a totally similar plan, but they do have a lot of information on the New Jersey COVID website that goes over, stages of how you should do things. So we'll get a little bit more specific. I'm going to let Simon Jean tell us a little bit about what they're doing over there in Perth Amboy, and then we'll come back to Pastor.
Okay, thank you very much. It became quite a challenge in March, as we all know. So in March, when it became evident that we needed to adjust and become flexible, our pastor decided that we would engage. First, we were using a prayer line, a free conference to facilitate the services when the houses of worship was totally shut down. Then at the end of March, we did a virtual worship test via Zoom just to see if we would be able to conduct our services on there. And we started using our Zoom. We have been fortunate, I believe, because we've not really missed out on a lot. We currently are utilizing every available technology that is available to us. We have a daily prayer line that broadcast over the free conference line. We also are doing Bible study, Sunday school. Our services are both via Zoom and also in the sanctuary. We started out, gradually with a small amount. Once the temple opened, we started out with a small amount of parishioners in the temple. Um, Mostly in the beginning, it was just like the praise and worship and whoever was speaking. Um, After that, we were allowed to have 25 members in, and we are now at 25% capacity, which we are actually now allowed to have about 50 people in our sanctuary. But I must say, I'm glad that we've been in person about 20 to 30 people. That makes it comfortable that we're able to space out properly. Um, we have followed the CDC guidelines, adapted them to our specific needs. We have acquired thermometers in the front and the back where people are scanned in. Um, we are making sure that they're sanitizing. We have um, disinfecting common areas. We've been also not passing out any common items such as programs. The way that we're currently collecting our tithes and offering is on exiting the sanctuary. There are baskets that are provided, and people would just put their tithes and their offerings in there. We are following the guidelines, I believe, allowing families to be able to sit together, but spacing out single individuals. We did an assessment of the sanctuary to see how we might have the seating, what kind of pattern. And we decided, that we would skip rows, skip seats. We basically just made sure that everyone was maintaining the 6 feet social distancing. Of course, face coverings are mandatory in the sanctuary throughout the services. And we're trying, there's no programs that are passed out. We're trying to make sure that items are not getting in contact with multiple personnels. But I do have to say, our church have come together in a wonderful way, and we've found new avenues online and are tapping into people from all over the place. So I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good change. We were able to have communion services where the ministers would, bring the communion to the homes, and then we would gather online and do that. We have even had an outdoor gathering that was maintained with the social distances and the mask and everything. So we're trying not to miss out on anything. We've had our ladies service, men's service, youth are coming together online. We're trying not to miss out on anything. We're just adapting it in a safe and way so that we're still able to go forth with the ministry.
Amen. All right, Pastor, Overseer, sorry. Go ahead and just kind of give us a quick summation from your standpoint. You're muted again. Good. Muted there. There you go.
Yes, I'm so glad to have Ellen on board. She has been, along with the director of New York State DIS, our right hand, and they provide us with such great resources. And Miss Piper, as you mentioned, being an RN, we have established a team called the HEAT, which is our healthcare extended advisory team, and they're made up of healthcare professionals, and they are the ones who get the information, CDC, and advise us accordingly. I'm so glad to hear being resilient, where the church is actually making inroads into new avenues, and I'm glad for that. Where I am in the Bronx, as I journey through the Bronx, there are quite a number of churches that had gone under. You see the for rent signs, for lease signs up, and they were not able to weather this COVID pandemic. A lot of the stores were like storefront churches, so the capacity is already small and their rent very high. So we're trying to see, with this medium, also if there is any funding out there that we can get to these churches. But I'm glad for what you have also done. Our church also have increased about 33% of our services. We do have the free conference call line. Now the church, believe it or not, is praying 3 times a day, 7 days a week because of COVID. And our youths are online every Friday via Zoom. And one Friday night, this will be the second Friday night in person. So we're trying our best. We're trying our best. Our seniors are the biggest challenge, seeing that they are still restricted to stay home and they're not as computer savvy. But we are trying to have the children at home, get them connected. But they are so much missing the fellowship, missing the fellowship. So we have our seniors that we are still trying our best. Maybe we just make a pop up and a little visit, but that's a new challenge for us too. All right. God bless you. Back to you, Bishop.
Yes, thank you all. Now, I think it's great to hear, all the different things that people are doing because we have to kind of come together. We actually have opted to be out of a building, and actually, overseer kind of knows my reasoning, and I want to
Yeah.
kind of start that up a little bit. Is the ventilation systems in the various
Mhm.
buildings. And I don't know if our Helen can tell us what the stipulations you guys have about ventilation systems and any suggestions that they have. Because for me, that still is a part. Because, and I tell you why, because, and Overseer knows my feelings, because a lot of people I find are still taking off masks when they're speaking,
Mhm.
and they're taking off
Mhm.
masks when they're doing various things. And from my understanding, and this is as a physician, this stuff is spreading in the air. And so I recommend, even when if my we had our anniversary services all virtual, and when my choir
Yes.
got together to sing outside, they sang in masks outside because they're still in the
Mhm.
space and they're in the wind. So I want to hear what the people's thought about the ventilation system, and we're going to start with Ellen and move around.
Sure, yeah, this is a great question and one that we're getting often. And I think this is one of the things that came out more recently when we're looking at making spaces safe. So in the document, we do link to the latest information about looking into your ventilation system, knowing what ventilation system your building uses, and the rooms that you'll be in, seeing which ventilation systems are linked to that, and making sure that you have the filtration system that is recommended, as well as also keeping doors open, windows open wherever possible, and keeping those doors propped open safely. And also, as well as you mentioned, keeping masks on at all times indoors during service, even if you are the one preaching, or especially if you're the one singing, because that is how you do spread more of the particles by using your diaphragm and expelling that air out. And so we do recommend that masks stay on at all times indoors, even if you can maintain those 6 feet that is recommended. So in our recommended section, we do keep that you have your masks on at all times indoors. So those things are all linked there as resources to make sure that you're doing as much as possible to keep the space as safe as possible with the knowledge we do know about the virus.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Ms.
Absolutely.
Imogene, go ahead.
Well, I think
Anything
the
you want to add?
ventilation system is absolutely, essential. We want to make sure that we're taking in clean, safe air. We know that droplets are spread into the atmosphere. So I do believe that every church and every indoor space should be checked to make sure that the proper ventilation systems are in place. I do believe it's important that we keep the masks on, and I always try to remind people, even if you have to cough, especially if you have to cough or sneeze, the mask needs to stay in place. This is why it's important that your face covering has many layers. And it's also important, I like to use disposable things. Once I'm done with it, I get rid of it. But even the washable ones, we have to be careful. A lot of times people are not realizing that there's certain little things, that habits that they may have that might be, contributing to the spread of the virus. A lot of people don't realize how many times they may not even realize and be touching their face. And, just you just have to consider that everything around you is potentially contaminated. And you have to be mindful of where your hands go. um, Maybe not in the sanctuary, but I go out. I don't eat when I'm out because I feel like to thoroughly wash my and sanitize my hand with soap and water. So I'm very careful about these things. But we have to realize that any surface whatsoever is potentially contaminated. And the ventilation system is absolutely essential. That's how we get clean air. We've been trying to open certain doors. We've been trying not to have to also certain doors that can stay open so that multiple people are not touching the same surfaces. When people use the restrooms, there are sanitation things in there provided for them to clean up before and after themselves. And we have hand sanitizers available readily for everyone. So we have to make sure that the air is clean. We have to make sure that the objects are sanitized and there is no passing back and forth. Even in greeting, you know, we have to be very mindful. We want to show love. Our church is a church that loves to show love, and it's been a little bit difficult because habits break hard, and we want to hug and we want to, but I don't even believe personally in fist pumping. I've encouraged everyone just to wave, because there is no way that you can maintain social distancing and be fist pumping or elbow pumping or whatever. So the air needs to be perfectly clean. I'm a little bit worried now that winter, it's getting cold, how we're going to be able to maintain the air uh, inside. I think every sanctuary should be checked to make sure that the ventilation um, system is up to speed and, according to recommendations that have been set out for safety's sake.
Yep. Well, thank you, Pat, Overseer. You want to add anything
Yes.
to that? Mhm.
Yeah. Well. Just to add, yes, we did have our HVAC technician come in and change the filters. But the part that over Bishop mentioned, I'm still waiting for him to come, is to really check on the airflow. Is that air that is being used within the sanctuary, is there a clear exhaust and it's going directly outside of the building? So that I really can't say I'm 100% certain, but the filters, the specific grade that was recommended, we do have those installed. I also saw the website on EPA, which I use, but I'm not sure the value. Maybe Eleanor could talk to me about that. It's airnow.gov. It kind of tells us the quality of the air within the neighborhood, but I was looking for something to tell me the quality of the air within the sanctuary. But I know there's no registers in the house of worship to tell us that. So that's indeed a still a challenge for us. But with the filters being upgraded, we are hoping then that will help. But we do
Yeah, I
ensure
think with the
everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll come back to you in a minute, Ellen. I think with the filters upgraded, that is an important piece. And
Yes.
as I was telling last week, is just as much as we can, because a lot of buildings, the airs are recirculated. All right. And then, so
Mhm.
the gas filter will help quite a bit. But my thought is, I
Mhm.
think of some of there's a way to engineer that the old air goes out, and you
Yeah.
actually,
Yeah.
your intake, and then, because that would be the best case. The reason I am really stuck on this point and is a lot of churches around have invested in plexiglass. Not that it helps that direct spread, but it does not
Yeah.
take away from that all over in the ear. And I just really, this is what's a
Yeah.
big point with me that I'm trying to make to everybody. So and because the plexiglass give you a sense of, okay, I can take my mask off, which is what I'm really trying to profess to people, that that is not the way to go. So the mask on, because even if you didn't have the plexiglass, you have a fair enough decent ventilation system, I think you're much better off, because than having your mask off at all. Because not only do you spread, because I know for me the other thing is a lot of people rely on temperature. Actually, as even as a physician, that really doesn't mean that much to me. I really don't care what your temperature is. I mean, of course, if the person has symptoms, that person, they should take their temperature. Then you decide whether they
Mhm.
shouldn't be there. The other people, all of their temperatures are normal, means nothing at all,
Mhm.
because that
Yeah.
doesn't mean that they're not sick. Also,
Yeah.
there's
But,
the people who have no
yeah,
symptoms. There's a whole
Yes.
slew of them. All
Bishop,
right, so
Bishop,
I'm coming to you. So you spend your time taking temperatures for what reason? Okay, go ahead. I'm back to you.
yeah, but Bishop, I know you may say, folks who are asymptomatic may not show symptoms, but it's another screening. So,
Hmm.
as many screening you can take, because it's
Yeah,
novel,
yeah, I'm
right?
okay with that. Yeah. Hmm.
So
I just don't want you to have
I
the
don't
false.
I don't want them to walk away to saying not to, right? Because
No, no,
I'm
it's
glad
not a not to.
you're right. Okay,
I would
but
just
it's not
clarify.
there's no silver bullet, right? That we know.
No.
You
So you take the
but I'm
temperature, because that's also part of the protocol. That's a
yes.
protocol, and I think you should do it.
Right.
However, don't be lulled
Mhm.
in a false sense of, okay, the temperature was normal. I think, because see, a lot of times people said, I don't have a temperature, so then I don't have to wear a mask. I'm just putting it all back together,
Oh, well,
where
we
is,
got you.
yeah,
Yes,
that's
yes.
it. And that's really what I'm pointing out. So take the temperatures should be taken, because that's also mandated. However, that is not the end all. So I don't have a temperature. Okay, so I'm going to walk in and not put a mask on today. All right. We're going to come
No.
back to Ellen for a minute. Well, go ahead, Imogene. Go ahead.
Well, I was saying the temperature is not the end all, but we
Yes.
have actually screened, and
Yes.
thank God
Mhm.
that we did a temperature. So
Yes. Hmm.
it's that there's many asymptomatic people. People may be exposed to COVID and don't even have respiratory symptoms. We have seen people that have just had a little stomach upset,
Hmm.
different things, and they will come back and test positive for the antibodies. But
Hmm.
it's one of the screening tools. Also asking about travel, also
Exactly.
asking
Yes.
about
Yes.
people that they've been exposed to. We have to do
Those
it,
four questions.
and
Yes.
Yes.
it has saved us. I have to say
Yes.
that. So I will not give up on the temperature.
No,
We
no,
have to
it's
use
not. The,
what
the
we
point
have. We have
the
to
point
use what
wasn't
we
to
have
give up
available.
on it. Yeah, the point wasn't to
Okay,
give up
great.
on it. It should be done. The point is, do not just rest on the temperature, because you're right. And I think the purpose of the temperature is to maybe grab that person who was exposed, didn't know it, and actually come home. They didn't feel quite right, but I said, I'm fine, because a lot of people are like that. It may, so the temperature is going to get those if they do have a temperature, and so those are the very important. And the only point I was making is not to be just rest on your laurels because the temperature is normal. All right. So the temperature is important as one of the screening tools that you have to help you to decide now, the person. And I think Imogene brought up a great point. Is also where have you been? If you're coming from Florida yesterday and you're going to come to my church today, no, you're not. If you're coming from any of the states that are high, and I'm hitting Florida because that's pretty high right now, even though Florida
Or
is
you had
opening
friends
up.
over. Our friends came over,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. Or you had friends visit you who were, in Florida, or whatever on the other states that are high, because 33 states are going back up. So you're
Yes,
gonna want to know where the person has been. So you have to do all of the screenings, and then keep in
yes.
mind that even with all that negative, it really depends on where the person's been and what is going on. And I think I was going to come back to Ellen. I think you had a couple of things more you wanted to add. Go ahead. Mhm.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. Yeah. So I love the use of temperature as a form of screening. And I know as we're talking, I can sense that if you're watching this, you might start feeling overwhelmed that we're mentioning all of these different things that we want you to do. And oh, those 4 questions that you should ask before people come to one of your events. Have you been exposed to somebody with symptoms lately? Have you traveled anywhere that's high risk lately? Have you been experiencing any of these symptoms? So I do want to reiterate that in our document, yes, we do link to a pre-registration example form. So when somebody is saying that, yes, I want to attend your in-person service, and maybe when they're reserving their seat, I know Overseer Franklin, they reserve their seats. It looks almost like an airplane. You get to pick your seat before you arrive. When they're filling that in, we ask those questions. Can you confirm these 4 statements? And that way people know exactly what we're looking for to make sure that they're safe to enter the space. When they arrive, we have a temperature check at the door. I know that some are giving people their single-use programs at the door, hand sanitizing stations, making sure their masks are fitted well before they enter the building. So there are a lot of little things to keep track of, but I do not want congregations watching to feel overwhelmed. I want them to know that there's good work to be done in order to make this happen. And just because your state says that you can gather indoors and worship can happen doesn't mean that you have to. I want us to be thinking about our seniors and those who are high risk in our congregations, and make sure that just because you're devoting resources to reopening in person doesn't mean that we should drop the ball on our online platforms. There are people who are high risk in your congregations who will not feel safe returning back until there is something like a vaccine or something that does have it controlled among the population. So we want to make sure that if you do choose to shift some resources to opening in person, that we're not losing any of our traction online and our availability online, and making sure that we're still communicating virtually well as a congregation, that we're still opening those conference lines for people to call in and pray together. And there was something Overseer Franklin mentioned that I wanted to touch on about our seniors and creating spaces for them to fellowship together. This was something that was noted at the beginning of the pandemic when we were teaching webinars and trying to get congregations to switch to virtual. And a lot of congregations shared the best practice of opening social hours and having the congregation utilize their online platforms that they were paying for and making available to their congregants to meet together and socialize, have a coffee hour, a tea hour for the seniors where they can just log on and hear each other's voices and catch up. And this type of peer support is so important for us to be able to facilitate as a congregation so that people are being filled. They're being filled spiritually and they're being filled emotionally, utilizing your platforms together.
Mhm.
Excellent.
That's awesome. All right,
Well,
Pastor
Eleanor,
Franklin, you
thank you
had
for
something.
that. Yeah, Eleanor, thank you for that. I just took my pencil out, wrote that down. I'm going to send that to our person in charge of the senior group because, yes, that little coffee hour, that tea hour, I like that. I like that. It's soft. It's something they can do, it's something they can do. So thanks for that tip.
Yeah, and one other thing is, I just wanted to throw this out for those, if especially if your church is already a nonprofit and you are on the Google platform any at all, you can actually
Mhm.
get signed up where you can get you have your .org thing, and then through that, Google Meets is totally free, and for a large
Mm.
group, and there's a lot of other things. So and then you can have your whole email platform set up, and it's all, and because you're a nonprofit and you submit all the paperwork, then there's a lot of things that you can then engage in. That's going to also help to also defray the costs. So we have actually don't do Zoom, we do Meets for all of our other things, and then we do
Mhm.
the remix that we do now for her major presentation. But we really do meets, and actually, believe it or not, just so you know, the free conference call does have a video portion as well for those people
Yes,
that
it
is
does.
free.
Mhm.
Yes, it does.
Okay,
Yes,
we
yes,
have that.
yes,
So
yes.
you can
25. Yeah, yeah.
you can utilize that, and just do everything. As a matter of fact, I told people our youth and our Bible study is probably going to stay virtual.
Mhm.
Because we have been able to engage, and then we'll have a social event maybe once every month,
Mhm.
every 3 months, once we're back together. But we're going to leave that virtual just because of how it has gone, and it's really a spread. We've gotten more engagement. Yeah, we've gotten more visitors. That way. So you have to look at it. So believe it, especially for us personally, because we share a building with another church. So for us, this actually kind of just sit us into a real spot, and then we'll just do that for our main services. So there's a lot we can do, and I think we have to just think the new norm is, do you really open up those, church doors every day? And
Mhm.
actually, my thought is maybe we should start using those churches, some of these buildings for shelters and for other things, and there's a lot of things that I think
Uh,
this has led us
Bishop,
into thinking about.
Bishop,
Go ahead.
Bishop,
Yeah.
you're going up in my alley there. Matter of fact, we have
Yeah.
just started working on a 2021 digital strategy
Yeah.
for all the churches because everyone
Yes.
went virtual and we are paying so much money individually. We got to now step
Yeah.
back and
Yeah.
consolidate.
Yeah.
And as you talk
Yeah.
about the churches, another thing that I'm looking at is our students who are home learning, and the
Yes.
sanctuaries there where you could
Yes.
have brought quite a few of them and monitor
Hmm.
them because no one is monitoring the kids and they're falling behind. So we really have to step back and look at how we're going to utilize and maximize our spaces.
Yeah, you hit on a good point, and especially like how we talk. Yes, we got to make sure everything is sterile and all of that. But my big concern also is those parents who have to work. How long you think
Yes,
they're gonna subsidize them being at home, and school,
Mhm.
homeschooling their children? I don't think it's gonna last
Yeah.
forever. So I think we're gonna have to
no,
come up with some strategies of how we're gonna help them. If these kids
yes,
are
yes,
virtual, they must go back to work, and they can't work from home. How are we
Mhm.
going to help? So that may be another use of a church space that potentially
yes,
could be a space where we could then have somebody monitor them, and the parents can then go to work. So we have to get out of the box and start really
yep,
Yes.
thinking as we keep everything safe, as we keep it safe. And yes, we're kind of talking about the safety now, but we have to then still function, and we must still
yes,
then
yes,
carry on, in whatever capacity we have. So I think this is really a good time to start thinking out of the box, and coming together, bringing our ideas together, and see where we can help. So the key point on the ventilation then is, I think everybody should just check. Just make it as good. If you
Right.
it's
Absolutely.
The key thing is to make sure the filters are recharged, the filters are new, and then again we probably have to change
Mhm.
them a little bit more often. So we gotta
yes, yes.
keep that in. Someone had a nice question online, which I will propose to all of us. And since we have nurses and health uh, workers and all that here, so with the antibodies, how long will you be safe if you have antibodies, or can you get the COVID?
Whoa,
Can you get COVID-19 again?
whoa,
That's the question. I actually
wow,
know the answer,
Well,
but I want my panelists to jump in. Yeah.
wow.
well, let me say that they don't
Hmm.
really know how long you're protected for. That's the thing.
Hmm.
They don't really
Hmm.
even know what level of antibody you need. So we're learning about this. I would not let down my guard on any safety measures, even if I tested positive with the antibodies. I would still maintain the same tenets and the same safety precautions as if I was never exposed.
Hmm. Yeah.
Eleanor,
And one.
can I toss a follow up? Come back to that, Bishop. Just describe to the audience the difference between the antibody test and the COVID test. They're not the
Sure.
same, and folks tend to,
Mhm.
misinterpret them. So the antibody test versus
Exactly.
COVID. Go ahead.
Exactly. So the COVID test is testing to see if you have the active virus in your system. So it's often called a PCR test or a COVID test. So this is if the virus is actively living in your system, and you might be asymptomatic, you might not show any symptoms, or you may be experiencing the symptoms, but that test will let you know if you have the virus actively affecting your body. The antibody test shows after you've had COVID or experienced the virus in your body creates antibodies to fight it. And so those antibodies show up in your blood, and they would do a blood test to find those antibodies. If you test positive for the antibodies, that means that your body experienced COVID-19. You can have different levels of antibodies depending on how strong or severe you were affected by the virus. And as the nurse was saying, we don't know how long those antibodies might last in your system. And there are now multiple strains of COVID-19 that we have seen across the globe. And as we are living in a very globalized area of the country, we want to make sure that we keep our guard up as well in case somebody has traveled from somewhere with a different strain, because they have shown reinfection with different strains of the virus. So even if you do have the antibodies, you might fall ill with a different strain of the virus.
And to add to that is kind of at first some people equalize it to the flu. It's a different virus, but it's kind of same kind of transmission and such like. So if you understand that, even for the and we'll talk about that and we'll do that again about the flu shot. But if you understand that, this is why each year the flu vaccine is actually different, because they make it to kind of by a statistical equation, they try to figure out which strains are going to be present, and they make that to fix that strain. So with the COVID now, there's a lot more we don't know yet. We don't know about all the strains, and also there are cases and reports of a couple of people in China who had the virus, who had the infection before, who's been infected again. So with that being said, to answer the question and to just go to fine tune what everybody else has said, be careful, wear your mask, sanitize, make sure.
Absolutely.
And actually, for us, as a matter of fact, as I told you, for us, we have actually stayed out of a building because and this is one of my is to stay out of the building, just because you don't know what is going on. And I think it's so important that to remember, don't let your guard down for 1 minute, and just keep it moving. All right. All righty. Now, anybody else had anything on those points?
Get tested, please.
Yeah,
Get tested.
absolutely.
Yeah,
It's free.
Absolutely. I
definitely.
believe that everyone should get tested. The testing, is free to almost everyone. And why wouldn't you want to know whether or not you've been exposed? You could be a carrier,
Yes.
asymptomatic, no symptoms whatsoever, but now you have put yourself in a position that you're exposing your friends, family, co-workers, elderly, debilitated people. You don't want to be the one responsible for someone getting very ill, especially someone with a lot of other comorbid conditions that may not be able to bounce back as you might be able to get bounced back. So, ignorance is not bliss. I
No.
encourage everyone to test it.
Bishop, let me
Yep.
ask you this, being a medical doctor
Yeah.
on the same testing. We as pastors, we are, if you want to call it, essential workers. We are constantly
Yeah.
at church. We don't do that full
Yes.
week. Are you recommending that pastors should be one of the high frequent testers? Make sure we
Well,
get tested?
I
Because we
what
don't
I
take
what I
14
think
days
is
off.
this. What I think is this is you should probably, because you're, especially if you're in the building and you're
Yeah.
going and constantly going, you probably should be. You should be tested because you're exposed to a lot of different people, and
Hmm.
of
Yeah.
course, even though some people you don't, Simon Jean was saying, you don't even know the quality of the mask they're wearing. You
True.
Yeah.
hope everybody's wearing the appropriate mask. So my thing is, and as a matter of fact, what in my office, I only see a few people now in the office, and I tell them if they have any symptoms, I don't let them come to the office. If they have anything, so therefore, and even so, I think I'm at a higher risk because I'm seeing so many more people. Pastors, I think
Mhm.
definitely. And as we're gonna hit it on the other end and talk a little bit about it, but then that's why I think all the pastors should get their flu shot, going forward,
Absolutely.
because it's going to be very, very, very important. And I think, and I was really distraught this week because, there is just so much, especially on the televangelical world and that world where people are, okay, well, the Lord, churches are being persecuted and can't have a service and this and that and all of this stuff. My thing is use your brain. God give you one. So just use it and see, why it's not like we're shutting down just churches. It's not like
No.
anybody's saying just a church. I mean,
Yeah.
here we on the block. Okay, the church need to be closed and everything else can be opened up. No, that would be persecution. But we are saying
Right.
to combat this virus, this is what we have to do. And I mean, really, I'm really very, very concerned about the people in Florida, because Florida is just going to stage 5. They're going to open up, even though the cases are going up. And
Yes.
that's why I think each of us are responsible. I guess I take the responsibility for ourselves. Use our brain. I don't care what anybody tells me, open, not open. Use the information that we have, and then make a knowledgeable decision. And this is really why we're pushing Turning Point. We want people to hear the truth, know the truth. The truth shall set you free, and use the truth to govern, every aspect of your life, and not just spiritual, emotional, but even the physical, because it is so, so important. I don't know if any of you heard, but there's this family, and I think I mentioned it last week. So one person visited from Virginia. They had a family gathering, and of course, out of and of course, the whole family got positive. The oldest person in the family then died. The wedding that they had in which state? I remember there was supposed to be 50 people. They had 75. 76 people came to the wedding. As a result of that, 276 people were positive, and 7 people died that lived in a nursing home because they had some contact with one of those 276 people. So it is there, and I'm thinking the Lord has given us the knowledge and my understanding of what we can do
Yes.
to protect
Yes.
ourselves. So why should we should just expose everybody and then say, okay, the Lord is going to fix us anyway. It does not make, biblical sense, when you think
Yeah.
about it. Anyway, I'm on my soapbox, so anybody want to chime in on that point, feel
No,
free.
but Bishop, you're so right. I mean, I have seen, pastors who, just disregard. They will say to
Yeah.
me, over here, we didn't close down, as if that's
Yeah,
aggrandizement.
mark
But
on the shoulder. Yeah.
I said that's your decision. And every
Mhm,
church, I believe, is unique. Some church may have a larger footprint, and you can
mhm,
social distance. Maybe your membership was already small, and you had a big capacity. So I
Mhm.
leave it to the pastor to make the right discernment. I'm not going to
yes, yes.
criticize, but
Hmm.
Mhm.
for the church that I pastor, we shut down March 15th, 140 days before we even set foot back. And
Yes.
we had a
Hmm.
professional company coming in and deep clean the sanctuary. Some says, well, the COVID is not in the building. But you know what? I want to err on the side of over sanitizing the church.
Right.
So,
Hmm.
Bishop, I'll be my soapbox every day for that. Let's put the mask on. Let's sanitize the hands. And I tell the children,
Hmm.
when you wash your hands, say the Lord's Prayer. That's 23 seconds. All right? Say the Lord's
Amen.
Prayer. All right?
Yeah.
You pray a lot. You're
Amen.
going to pray a lot during COVID.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like
All
to
right.
I'd
I
like to
totally
jump in on that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, go
Yes,
ahead.
ma'am. Go ahead,
Okay, I was
Helena.
going to say, actually, yeah, what you're saying is really important. And when you mentioned that you had the sanctuary deep cleaned even after 140 days with nobody inside, as congregations, I want us to be thinking about what we can do to give our congregants peace of mind. We're currently living through a time of high stress. We know that we're experiencing stressors that are unique in this day and age. And so as we're coming back together, yes, temperatures are one piece of a way that we can screen the people who are coming in, but the peace of mind it gives us to know that this space was deep cleaned. This everyone has been asked the screening questions. Everybody has had their temperatures taken. The congregation, the pastor will not allow you to enter the space without a face mask. Knowing those things in advance and communicating them in advance to your congregants means that they can make a well-informed decision about how they want to participate. And I think those things are all very important as we have so much uncertainty that we might be dealing with in other areas of our life where we can be certain. Let's communicate that clearly as a congregation and make sure that everybody knows what page we're on, and what we're doing to keep them safe.
Yep, very good.
That
Beautiful.
is so
Imogene, you
true. Let,
Well
let me
said.
just
Well
add to that. It is so true because when we got together as our board to decide on our reopening strategy, we made sure that we had a meeting, a virtual meeting, to let every member know exactly what page we were on, the expectations, so just in case, someone had some reason why they did not want to wear a mask, we would let them know in advance. They expected that if you were going to come into the sanctuary, that was not an option. So I think as long as you communicate, we also, let them know that we expected them to wear the mask the whole time, that we wanted them to sanitize in as soon as you enter into the building, and different things that were the expectations. I think as long as the congregants are aware of where you are, then they can make a decision as to whether or not those rules, the regulations are acceptable unto them. Or, we never took away virtual church. That's never going away. They you always had the option if that was their choice. But I think it's very important. We cannot have some people following the guidelines and others being resistant to it. Unity is very important when we're serving the Lord. It's very important in this matter of safety with this COVID pandemic. It's very important that we are all united, trying to protect one another, and everybody being on the same page, I think, is very, very important.
and
very good.
let
Very
me
good.
let me add to
Mhm.
that, Bishop, because one of the things we have done, and I like what I'm hearing. We have one of our registered nurse, and her job is like a state inspector. She comes to church, and she has a rubric, and she by Monday evening, I got an email, Pastor, here's the score, here are the metrics, what we did. Everyone, did we have everyone wearing their mask? Uh, were we social distancing? Did we pass out any materials that was not UV checked? Did the speaker stay behind the pulpit so we can maximize social distancing? Did everyone registered for their seat that attended the service? And based upon some of those metrics, we have a call the next day or the next opportunity before the next Sunday with the church to say, guys, we got to be in 100% compliant. And the important things, the point of reason why we take the names, just in case there's a breakout. We also do a picture attendance. Every now and then we take a snapshot of the folks and the saints who are in the sanctuary, because then if there's a breakout, we can accurately account for where you were and who you sat next to, and quickly, with contact tracing, help you to quarantine yourself. So I think it's important, for you mentioned unity, and that we have 100%. There is no time now to have a few who will not comply. What we do, because there are some folks who have respiratory issues, and if you got to remove your mask so you can breathe, they will just quietly walk to the restroom, remove their mask, and just have some fresh air and re-enter the sanctuary. So we do allow that, but not in the open sanctuary floor. Thank
Mhm. Yeah, very, very important, and I really appreciate all of the input because it's so good. We couldn't get your checklist up, Ellen. Sorry about that, but I know you kind of went over
Mm.
it. Did you want to go over any other specifics of that right now, or you pretty much
No,
covered
that's
it?
fine. Yeah, hopefully we
Okay.
can get it distributed with a link or something. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
yeah,
share it. We'll share it, and we'll put it
Mhm.
on our Facebook site and then
yes,
on our Facebook site as well. And the
Mhm.
important thing though that everybody must understand is we the even if you get biblical, if we get a little bit biblical for a minute, the Lord is going to give us the understanding that we need, but we got to then use it, and we have to
Yeah.
use what we have And that's one of the best practices. And what I'm hearing is everybody should be, those who are not opened up yet and are thinking of doing it, you need a structure. All right, don't just say, okay,
Yes.
we'll
Yes.
see who showed up today or anything like that, because otherwise you're going to need about an hour to process. All right, you're gonna
Yes.
need
Mhm.
a lot of time to process if you just letting people come. You can let families sit together but still distanced. You need to be checking temperatures when they come in. You need to be having a list of who is there, a physical list, so you will know if anything for tracing later on. Don't forget, for HIPAA purposes, you shouldn't write down, you can write their names down and have it confidential, but don't be writing information that, alongside their name or anything like that. I mean, and of course, a pastor mentioned taking pictures, but you probably should get consent, that you just let people know you'll be taking a picture once in a while. Not that you're going to share it for any other purposes, but we just want to cover all the bases. Then they should sanitize coming in. If they leave the room and coming back, they should sanitize again. Really, again, and the key point is the mask must be worn. I know there's a lot of people said you're trumping on their civil liberties if you tell them not to wear masks, but this is your congregation, your people coming together, and if they can't adhere to that, they can stay home and be virtual. They can sit outside in their car or wherever. But there's rules that you have to adhere to, because if we do this, I think before long we'll see the cases keep going down, and then we're gonna be able to get back to things as normal. It's not going to be tomorrow, but it should be sometime soon. So we want everybody to make sure you're following all of that. And just before we bump off, I just want Ellen to talk a little bit about flu shots, if she want to chime in. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the census, and then about voting, and then we'll be off. Okay.
Great,
Yes.
all excellent initiatives. Yes, as flu season approaches, the health department is encouraging everybody to receive their flu shots. And one thing that I've commonly heard is, oh, I don't like getting my flu shot. It makes me feel a little off for the day or for a couple days after. But I want us to be mindful that getting the flu shot doesn't just protect us from viruses that are being spread this fall, but it protects the people that we're engaging with and the people who we're around. So take your flu shot for those in your community who can't get their flu shot. As someone who is on the younger end of the spectrum, for me, I'm getting my flu shot so that if I am carrying the flu unknowingly because it's not affecting my body as strongly, I don't want to be passing it along to my neighbors when I do go to the grocery store and pick up groceries once every week. And so those are good reasons to make sure that we're getting the flu shot. I want us to also think about how similar some of the symptoms the flu is with COVID. And this has already happened to me just with allergies. And I start feeling symptomatic and I get really concerned. Do I have COVID? And so to avoid that concern and to be able to avoid that completely, getting your flu shot means that you're not susceptible to getting the flu this season. And so that means that you're spending less time at urgent care, taking up space in hospitals and capacity trying to get tested. The first thing they'll do when you get there is give you a flu shot or a flu test and a COVID test. And we don't want to be utilizing those resources if we have something to protect us already in advance. So go ahead and get your flu shot. Do it for you, do it for your neighbors. And let's make sure that we're reducing the impact of illness on our population this fall.
Mhm. Thank you. Anyone else want to
Yep.
say anything on that? Go ahead.
You know,
I totally agree with the flu shot.
Mm.
I know what I tell my friends, that the ones that never get a shot, I tell them this is not the year. This is not the year to skip your flu shot. Plain and simple. There's too much going on. People with allergies, let's remember there's the common cold, the flu, we have pneumonia, we have COVID, we have all of this. It's going to be very challenging to figure out exactly what is going on with your body. So, this is not the year to skip your flu shot. A little discomfort will save you a lot in the end.
well,
Right.
I- of all four
Are you
of
the
you,
one?
I'm the one. I have never taken the flu.
This
And
is not
to
the
be
year
quite
to
frank,
skip.
no, to be quite frank, I've never really had those symptoms. I thank God, I have a lovely wife who makes sure that I am eating well. My first 5 years of marriage, my fight was eating healthy. My mom sat me down, son, listen to your wife. So, so never need it, to be quite frankly. And she works in the health field, so she has to take it. But thank God for those who definitely have compromised immune systems and so on. I advocate for it, but personally, I have never had the need and I've never really dealt with those symptoms. So I thank God for that. And uh,
Yeah,
there's a whole, go
let me
ahead,
chime in
Bishop.
on that. I just want to also display a few myths that you do not get the flu from the flu shot. And I think a
True.
lot of people are on that understanding. Number one, is not alive, not even an attenuated virus. It's a protein that they develop to simulate the virus, right? And so so you're not getting now, what I tell people is when you have a good immune system, when you get the flu
Hmm.
shot, you are going to feel a little bit funny, all right? Because between to probably 10 to 13 days, you may have some mild symptoms of the flu because your body is reacting to a foreign particle. And actually, if your body didn't react, I'd be worried about you, which means then, your immune system doesn't work.
Right.
So, so really getting the flu shot
Right.
and getting some mild symptoms is great. Oh, my system worked. And now I'm developing those fighter cells, those antibodies. Those are going to protect me. I need to do an animation on this. It was going to protect me, later on
You call it
when
the army.
I,
You're awakening the army. That's what you're doing.
exactly. So
Getting them trained and
basically,
equipped to work.
and I think we got to start. Now, you did make a good point. One of the best ways for helping our health overall, and then you're going to get me going tonight, but is to eat healthy, exercise,
Right.
sleep. Sleep, REM sleep is not the amount of hours, but the amount of good sleep.
Yes,
Quality.
yes.
And that's the way to do it. And I will, just two more things. Guys are getting me too excited tonight. The vegetables that we eat are not necessarily the best. Why? Now, do you eat any fruit that you know that has been ripened on the tree? Is that the fruits we're getting? The fruits, especially when they're ripened on the tree, that's when they come to their fullest potential. Everything here was probably picked 2 months early. But that's why I recommend taking either a multivitamin or some fruit and vegetable supplements so you're getting everything. See, that's one of the reasons why people need a flu shot because they said, "Oh, I'm eating healthy." Fine, you're eating healthy. We should really break down what you're eating and see the actual nutrient value that you get out of it.
The
So you probably have to eat
content.
10 times. You have probably 10 apples to get what you need out of one because anyway, we got us straying, but
Well,
really,
Bishop, because
yeah,
because of COVID, I actually started a garden back in my backyard. So I'm
right,
eating
perfect.
organic in the backyard.
And actually, that's a good thing. They even have some of these things that you can put indoors, and
Yeah,
you can grow,
okay.
and you just
Yes.
pick your thing. And I
Hmm.
think I'm telling you, we have to get back to that basis. Not only that, in the long run, you're going to save money,
Oh,
and
yes,
That's
not
right.
yes,
you know.
yes.
So we have to think. I'm be honest. We got to start thinking out of the box at every
Yeah.
aspect of our life. How are we going to move forward? Are we doing what's best for us? But right now,
Yes.
wear your mask,
Hmm.
sanitize. And by the way,
Washed up.
we didn't we mentioned it a little bit about the kids. Nothing is as good as hand washing. I mean, I
Yeah,
know all
yeah.
of this sanitizer stuff out there, but if you can, after anything, you
Hmm.
wash your hands, on the
Yeah.
appropriate amount of
Yes.
time with hot soap and a little bit of warm water. It's cheap to buy too. You don't have to spend, all of that expenses. But really,
Hmm.
really, I can't impress enough. And I know, a lot of my church pastors are gonna call me up, but I don't mind. I don't care if you have a plexiglass, wear your mask. Is that right? Even though you have
Yeah, I got a
plexiglass,
plexiglass. I got a plexiglass. I'm wearing the mask. All right.
it is kind of still spread out there in the air and everybody can be contaminated. All right, last words from anybody, and we're going to wrap it up. Anyone have a
Well, my
last word?
last words, please take the
Mhm.
census. I've been an advocate.
Yeah, thank you
I've
for reminding
also
me of that.
actually remember going out and knocking on doors to ensure that folks take. So I've actually taken a poll in my local church, and there were about 4 members that didn't, and actually I got involved, let them know how easy it is to take the census. Also, voting, register if you're a citizen, naturalized or born here at the appropriate age, 18. Please vote. Go out and vote. By withholding your vote, you're actually voting by default. So those are the 2 civil liberties I'd like you to exercise. And thank you again, Bishop, for this platform, this forum, and for the panelists. It's awesome. So glad to meet you. Pastor Wayne and I are great friends, so I'm so glad to meet you, Nurse Piper. God bless you. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank
Right.
you.
Anything else? Anything from Ms. Piper? Anything for power? Yeah.
Well, I just want to say that I remember a plaque I had on my desk, and it said, "Blessed are the flexible, because they shall not be bent out of shape." I think we're in a different time, and we have to learn to cope, to adapt, and to utilize the resources that we have, the platforms that we have. I believe it's still important for us to get together. We can support one another, other ministries. We can have Zoom meetings. We can fellowship. We can do a lot of things still. Our hands are not tied. And, we don't want to take this as an excuse not to do the kingdom business that the Lord has left for us to do. So, every opportunity right now, it's still good weather. You can go out and have a service in the park. You can walk together. You can fellowship together. There's so much that the church can still do. There's lots of people out there that you can talk to, you can minister to. This is not a time for the church to go into hiding. We are the church, and we are still available to do what thus said the Lord. So let's just, go out there, use what we have to get the work that the Lord has laid for us to do.
Amen. Amen. Helen, any last
Amen.
words?
Yes, and some last words. Thank you so much for having me here to be able to speak with you all and share resources. And thank you all for each of your good words that you've shared throughout this program. I hope what faith leaders are hearing when they're listening to this call is that there are excellent resources available to them. So I hope that you are able to seek them out and that you're able to utilize them to continue doing your good work. And I hope that you feel supported in that way. And if you have any questions, or if you would like to talk to me about any plans that you've been writing, this is something that we've been teaching plan writing throughout the COVID-19, and we will be popping up even more trainings this fall. So if you would like to get in touch with me, I'm always available, and I hope that they can send my email address out to everyone who is watching today.
Yeah, we'll make sure that's available. Well, I really want to thank you all. Just so you know, a good news on the census, it's now back to October. If anybody didn't hear the news. So in the courts held, knocked it down for this, wrapping it up in September. No, we're back to October. So you have more time
Good.
to reach out to everybody else. And of course, voting is November 3rd, or actually my ballot is in already because New Jersey is going with a mail-in, and we all got a ballot
Man.
yesterday, and
Mhm.
mine is already in. So one thing on that for the New Jerseyans, you don't have to drop it at the post office, but each county have drop boxes. Just Google,
Mhm.
New Jersey county drop box for voting, and you bring it there. So the county people and all of the electoral people, they're the ones who are going to pick it up. So, so
Excellent.
if we're not sure if you drop it at the post office, we're not sure what will happen to it. But if you drop it here, you know what's going to happen. So we just want to give, as I tell you, we're just giving out information here. We're about information,
Come on.
information,
Come on.
information.
Great.
And we want everybody out there just, if you have a point that you want us to talk about on Turning Point or a
Let us know.
topic or anything, reach out
Let
to
us
me
know.
and we will make it available. All right, because we want the people of God to be the most knowledgeable. All right, I think you should be the most knowledgeable. Because you have faith that could go with the works. The one point I heard a pastor on one of these channels says is that, oh, they want us to shut down the church. The church is not the building.
Amen.
So shut down the building, but you can't shut down the church. All right. Anyway, with that, I
Amen.
thank God bless you all. And God bless you for being with us. So we thank you, Helen. We thank you, Imogene. We
Love
thank
you
you,
guys.
uh, here.
God
And we
bless you
just want
all.
to just say, this has been wonderful. It's been very informative. A lot of people are watching, and everybody's saying, wow, it's awesome and such alike. So, I'm going to reach out to all of you though once we have a vaccine. I will be doing a vaccine program because one of the things that I'm very worried about that's with all of this stuff, people are going to not want to take it. And that's one of the things that I
Well,
think we're going to have to work hard,
efficacy
to
is a
make.
big word, Bishop.
Yeah,
Efficacy.
yeah, exactly.
It
That's
With
what
has
all,
it
to
is.
be.
with all of, yeah, it
Yes.
has to be safe and efficacious. But I'm telling you, there's so much, this country at this point in time is so confusing. But I want everybody
Yes.
to be clear. That's why we're going to make every effort. And so I definitely
Uh,
would like to be reaching back out to you for a vaccine program. All right. So God bless you all. Have a
God bless you.
wonderful evening.
bless.
And also, oh, by the
Bless
way,
you.
anybody in Central New Jersey, our service is going to be in Johnson's Park, Grove 5, 10 a.m. tomorrow. So anybody wants to fellowship because we have decided we're going to milk outside until it's too cold. Okay. So we're going to be in Johnson's Park at 10 a.m. Grove 4. All right. So we'll hope to see some of those that are listening there. Blessings, blessings,
Blessings.
blessings. Have a
Blessings.
wonderful day.
Blessings.
Blessings.
Turning Point family, what an awesome time we just had. To all our first time guests, we truly appreciate you for joining our live broadcast. We would like to hear from you, so please send us your comments, questions, or testimonies of how this program has impacted your life. Our email address is info@pflmi.org. Finally, if you feel led at any time to give to this ministry, please visit us at pflmi.org and click on the tab for donations. You can also give via Cash App at $PFLMIORG. We're looking forward to meeting with you live on next week's program. Have a blessed and prosperous weekend.